line so that it can be done. If you have all your signatures and Dave and Jim sign off, then there shouldn't be any reason to have to wait to come to council to get approval or.
So I guess I have some concerns with that. What signature, is it everybody that owns property on the street that would have to have signature from? Is it active businesses? Is it certain types of businesses?
Well, let's say on your side of the street, and yourself and the daycare, Nikki Nickel, Kelly's Cut and Curl, the insurance, Stuart Herald, Silver Light Studio, which is the Masonic Temple, Doe-a-Deer, Lewis Place, and Maven Blush Boutique.
So any one of those people could say, no, we're not on board with you shutting the street down.
But then they would have to come here and ultimately say why.
And the council could go ahead and say, we're not gonna not
So-
open, or close down for one person.
I feel like it makes sense to notify business owners if the street's going to be shut down for any length of time. I'm just afraid if we have to go through and reach out to all these people and try to get signatures and get people on board, that we're building a roadblock to some of the progress that the downtown business owners have been making as far as drawing more activity into the area. It would take a significant amount of time, I would imagine, to try to reach out to all those people. I can tell you right now that there's probably 2 people on my list that would say no every single time.
Yep.
So I don't understand the concept. I don't see how this is going to be helpful in, like, what's the problem we're trying to solve?
Well,
That
here's
business owners
the
aren't
biggest
informed?
problem, and I can tell you straightforward.
Mhm.
People are shutting down the east side of the street. And I have been approached by 3 business owners on that street that have not known that the street was gonna be shut down at Thursday at 8:00 in the morning. And it's not fair for that street to be shut down and these businesses down here who depend on traffic to not know that.
I agree with that.
So that's the point is, so let's say Good Egg Days wants to shut the street down, you know, they should have to tell everybody, you know, whoever's doing it should have to tell Katie and the Stuart Scoop and all these other people that they're shutting down because, like, here's one instance. When we had back the barbecue thing, I made sure that the Stuart Scoop knew because they were gonna be affected. Katie had no idea that it was gonna be shut down early. So that, you know, that blocks her business. Nobody can get to the flower shop. And
Absolutely. I don't disagree with your point. I think all the business owners should absolutely be informed that there's going to be a closure. All those times that you're mentioning, was the closure approved by the city council or did people just block off the road?
I don't know. That's why I figured if we have a form, then the person who's in charge of the event is in charge to go through and make sure they're notifying everybody.
Because I do feel like the business owners should be notified, and I think that it's okay to make that the responsibility of the people that want the road
Right.
closure for the event. My concern is trying to add an extra step that I don't believe that we need. I don't believe going to every business owner on the street at a time is necessary. I think what would be more reasonable is if the council approves it, then maybe your responsibility is to post a notice on every business that just says, hey, here's when it's going to be closed. And then, because I'll tell you, for example, the RVTV, the timing of the closure was going to directly impact my morning rush. And once I found out about it, it was a very easy to make to say, hey, is there any way we can push this back by 2 hours? I have some really, really big issues with having to try to reach out and talk to everybody ahead of time. I think it's unnecessary. I think it's gonna create a stumbling block to having events downtown and stop all of the progress we've been making.
Well, there's a sheet back here on the back. It has a business contact and it has every business phone number and address. I don't see how it's fair, especially for the other side of the street, because we've had numerous people come to me and say, it's not okay for these people to shut the road down so early that it's affecting their business.
And what I'm saying is if those people are notified,
But they're not getting notified. That's the problem.
right, and that's what I'm saying, maybe that can be the policy instead, is once a closure is approved, notify everybody of your intent to do a closure, but
Why should it be
Relying
the
on-
city's job to notify everybody?
it shouldn't be the city's job, it should be whatever group is asking for the closure.
She's actually trying to streamline the process.
Yeah.
I mean, right now, the process is you come to the city council, and the city council, you know, that's the way the city council operates in a town of 500. But Stuart's getting big enough that the city council can't operate as a committee of the whole. You know, the city council shouldn't have to decide, you know, are we gonna spray at the cemetery? Are we gonna close this street for this event? Christina is trying to establish a process that would automate it, and if the problem is getting signatures, then come up with a different notification system, like you said, you know, post it on their door or send it to them certified. And we don't have to wait each month for a.
Well, I will, the requirement is either everybody signs off or it comes before the city council. There's no point in me even trying to get signatures. There's just not, because
On your side of the
On my
street.
On his
side of the
side of the
street,
street, he's gonna have so much hard time, you have a.
No, and I get that.
so I'll just come
Right.
directly to the
So-
council and say,
so
I
can
think
we-
that's the case, is I think that if you do it once, I think what you're trying to say is, we just go back to, you just kind of put it up to the council.
but I don't
But then
understand.
you lose the notice aspect of it.
Absolutely.
I think, just figure out a way to notify everybody,
So
you don't
does it
need
have to be
signatures.
an active, I mean, do we say it has to be an active business and then you just take out who's not active?
But how do you define that? Then you have to define an active business.
Because, I mean, I know where this is stemming from because this is where all the kickbacks been, is on that side of the street. So, I mean, my main thing was for the ones, for the other side of the street.
Sure, and the other side of the street, you know, I've had conversations with the business owners down there. It seems like they get shut down every time.
Right,
I'm hoping in next year, there will be more events on our side of the street. I think downtown is growing and getting big enough that we're starting to draw in a lot of events. We're starting to have a lot of people get involved. I'm just afraid this is gonna slam the brakes on that because
I don't know how it would. I mean, it's a simple piece of paper.
but one of the businesses is on my street, I don't know the last time I've even seen her. She's not actively in her business anymore.
Dustin's gonna have a lot harder time on that west
I
side
understand
of
that.
getting any signatures.
But we need to come to a compromise because the other side of the
Right.
street is getting shut down a lot and it's affecting businesses and that's not okay.
Will it address like if he either posts or emails or calls? If he has heard nothing within, I don't know, 72 hours, that he can assume that there's no issue?
Right? I
But
mean,
can there be
I
a
think so.
clause regarding lack of response or to address?
Right,
I'm pretty sure there'll be a response. I'm pretty sure I know what that response is gonna be.
right.
I mean, I guess for me, it's not gonna change the way that I do it. I'm still gonna have to come to the council, so I probably won't even try to reach out to anybody. I'm just gonna come here and when you
Well, maybe
say,
that, and then.
did you try this list? I'm
your
gonna say
choice.
no, because it's a waste of time.
Right, for your side. But if
Well,
somebody
that's
on the other
if you're
side,
not complaining about not getting notice, if you're not gonna give notice.
I would love for this rule to be instead, once we decide to close the street, we're gonna give if I'm having an event and I'm shutting down my side of the street, the council says, yep, you're good to go, shut it down. That my responsibility then is to type up a sheet that says, this is when the closure was approved, this is when we're closing it. And it's my job to tape one of those on every door, because
But I
I can do
think
that in about 5
the
minutes.
biggest problem is, especially on the east side, is that it's shutting down way before it needs to be. We're shutting it down on a
Sure.
Thursday or a Friday, and it really potentially could be shut down Friday afternoon. And so,
So
if
maybe,
I say, okay, I wanna have my event, city council, okay, well, how are we gonna know that it's okay with all of the business owners if they don't even know when?
so maybe do it ahead of time. Maybe once I decide to get on the agenda, I post a notice before the meeting that says, hey, I'm planning to go to the council on this day at this time because I want the street shut down, tape it to everybody's door, and then if they're not on board with it, they can show up when I make the request, they can show up for their point.
And
Which works, but could we make sure that if somebody has an objection, like, let's say it's somebody like maybe the Scoop or the Stuart Scoop and they can't be here, can they submit their objection through a piece of paper and say, this is why I don't? I mean,
I don't see why not. I guess my thought has always been, why isn't it a council decision to shut down the road? That way, nobody else is getting blamed for it. We don't have a city worker making that decision and then somebody blows up at them, they can come up here and blow up the council, you know? And
But this is to streamline it, so if everybody's okay with it,
Well,
then,
I get it, but let me finish here. So if you're gonna have a hard time, you're gonna have to come to the council no matter what. But other people have the easy route because they don't have the issues. You know, it should be the same for everybody, you just make everybody come to the council. And Jim?
Once Mike's done,
No, you're fine, go ahead.
the only reason, Mike, that it goes before Dave and I is to make sure that there is not another conflict. If we're in the middle of a project of some sorts that we're going to be affecting that area, we certainly don't want something else going on at the same time. That's why they've always ran it past Chief Rehan and myself after the council gives their blessing, because they always say, as long as it clears
Sure, and,
You know,
and.
us, and that's the reason why.
Sure, and I'm saying that, but if we say, yeah, go ahead and close it, but, or even if we get your, you know, is there something ahead of time? And then we make a decision based on that. You know, we're not putting anybody but the council in the position to have the hard feelings, you know, I don't wanna have a business be against the business, you know, and have hard feelings created on it. I don't know, I mean,
that's fine, we can just skip it. I was trying to make things easier and to help out, but we can just move on to the next thing.
I guess I didn't know there was businesses closing down this without coming up here, I just.
I can tell you, every year Jeff Schwarzkopf shuts the street down for Good Day Days and doesn't tell a soul, and shuts it down way sooner than it should. And it affects the Stuart Scoop, it affects the flower shop, it affects everybody. And that's why what I'm trying to stop, is because these business owners have come to me time and time again saying, this has gotta stop. And so I'm trying to shortline it so that we can get it done, but instead we're nitpicking and we're just not moving forward. So it's
And I
not a
do-
big deal, we can move forward and we can just move on to the sign.
Is there,
Can I insert something, Christina? I believe that what you're bringing up about streamlining is important and needed, because we need to be informed. I do think, if given the opportunity to kind of, to think through some of these, extras that like Dustin's brought to our attention, and Jim and Mike, I think there's a great opportunity to move forward with what you brought, perhaps with a little bit of air quote
Right.
nitpicking, so it may not be resolved tonight. The idea that you brought up, that our goal is to get to a point where there is a streamlined process.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Definitely not against
No, I-
that, streamlining it.
I think your point is extremely valid. I do think that the notification of the businesses is not happening, and it should happen. It absolutely should happen. It should be clear. I think Katie's right. There's an opportunity to streamline this process. I'm just worried that consent ahead of time is.
Hey, Ash, could you look into what other cities do for their street closures for stuff? And kind of get an idea of how they handle it?
is there anything any sort of penalty, or, what happens when something gets closed down that's not approved, or, has there been any consequence to that? Maybe there's something,
So that's kind of what.
People just assume they can do
I'd
it,
like
they
to
just
have
do it,
Ash
and
do.
they just don't.
Is
I mean,
find
that's
out
why I
what-
pushed, what was the last, there was something that I really pushed, the poker run, when that came in on that Saturday, I really pushed that they needed to make sure, because the Stuart Scoop had an event planned that day, and they just shut the street down, and I mean, it wasn't fair to them.
And maybe we need to have a policy that says you have to have your event planned a certain amount of time, instead of doing it, well, in 2 weeks, I'm gonna do this, or something, I don't know,
We'll look for other
but have Ash look at
cities and see
something.
what they do for
And go from there.
I think Christina,
Three of you mind getting together one day to have a meeting?
Shot an email saying, hey, if you don't respond, you're fine with it.
I don't care.
I don't care, that's fine. We can work
And then
together and
bring
get it
something
done.
up for the next one.
I can just, I'll just work with the same group that I did with my pretty sign here, that
You can talk about that, Christina.
okay, so, I've been talking with some people downtown, and we wanted to get a sign on the south side of town that brings people into downtown. And every day I come up that interstate after work and there's nothing there, and it drives me crazy. And so a group of us got together, and this was designed, the sign was, and Jim was going to come out with us when we initially talked about it, but then him and I went out there afterwards, and we'd like to put it where the White Pole Road sign is, it sits like this, and we'd like to put it this way, So they're kind of angled the same way and you can see it from both sides. It was designed, and then there's 2 quotes on the back for what it would cost to put it out there. And it was brought up that the more expensive one would be the way to go. And then on top of that, the Sesquicentennial Book Committee has offered to pay $1,600 of that for the sign to put it out there. And so I'm bringing this to the council to hopefully have the city pay the remainder, and then we can get the sign put out there by Come and Go to get people downtown. And it doesn't have any businesses, it doesn't have anything on it, it's just a nice come downtown, so that way it never has to be replaced with names or anything like that.
Need a motion there?
Yeah, we need a motion.
So which option are you wanting to go with, the
The $2,600 one,
It's aluminum,
yeah, so it's
opposed to
gonna last
wood,
longer.
so it would last longer.
So that puts us at 1080, right?
Yep.
The city.
And we had opted to go front and back so that those filling up at Come and Go might take the opportunity to stare at it and decide to go downtown. It was only $250 more to do
To
front
do
and
the
back.
back side of it.
Need a motion?
Do we have,
Yes. Yeah, she discussed it with me.
I'll have to go through PNC since it's a sign.
So do we need to do that first, or?
We approved the money and just subject to planning and zoning.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and they have a meeting at the end of the month, correct? Can we make sure it's on their agenda so we can get moving? I want it, be nice if we could get it going before the ground freezes.
Till the 18th,
Subject to,
refer to the elements of project.
So we have a motion? Moved by Morgan,
I'll second it.
second by Renslow, how do you vote? Dolly,
yes,
Morgan?
Yes.
Kavah,
Yes,
Renslow?
Yes.
Okay, 10, match ball?
Coming before you, we're gonna be receiving a bill, Steve will be receiving a bill regarding the lawn mowing or grass. And we've got the housing development and asking for reimbursement on that. Have not received the final bill yet. But last year, the city did, or was able to take that out of the contingency funds for the housing development. So just in a situation where grass and weeds grow.
Last year it was moved by Kaba and seconded by Glass to allow a one-time reimbursement.
That's what I have.
right, I know.
I'm gonna laugh too.
And Steve's aware of that. We're not trying to double dip, but we did think, to the extent there's still contingency funds left, this is a contingency that we have contingency funds for, and if we don't use the TIF money, then we're not,
It says that it's a one-time reimbursement for calendar year 2021.
right? So the mowing, it was
Two?
in this year, right. We didn't come back again for 2021.
Yeah, so maybe, I mean, if there's still contingency, can we say 2022? And just say it's a one-time fee for 2022?
Is there anything left in contingency fund? I don't think there is anything left in contingency fund.
So that's, I showed,
Check on, yeah, I would definitely be subject to whether or not there's funds there.
and I showed him the fund. We're actually taking most of the contingency into the safe route to school and all these things.
Oh. But we're not doing the safe routes,
Well,
just
it's
school
just
right now.
Yeah, not right now.
It just got delayed. It's,
So we gotta set that back, right? So, like, anything, or, I don't know. I did my 2021.
Can do it. I don't know, I'm just trying to please everybody. Who can do it one time deal and use Ramos is gonna be one time deal, that's
for
it.
this year.
Yes. Belongs.
For this.
for this year.
We'll put it in the motion that he
I'm
promised.
not gonna say I promise, no, but we are.
It's a small amount that we can squeeze it in, I just don't want it to be a perpetual, let's put it this way. If it just this year and that's it one time, you can go it the same way, with that regional agreement that we gotta take the money and put it in another project.
Right.
So that's, is that okay with the council?
I'll make that motion.
Okay,
Very well. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Cobal. How do you vote? Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan? Cobal?
Yes,
Renzo?
Yep.
and it's gonna read like the last motion, just this year and forever, hold you be. Okay.
So is that all you have tonight, Matt? Okay. Planning recommendations, Warren?
If you had a chance to read the minutes from the P and Z meeting in my letter, I really don't need to say anything unless you have questions. The main amendment is to change the land that C just acquired, the funds that the city council made available for the fourth phase of housing, which is confusingly going to be called Womble Third Edition. But that was the requirement of the seller, Janet McGowan, who is Jack and Catherine Womble's daughter. So it's our fourth edition of the housing out there. It's currently in the comprehensive plan as agricultural. We need to change that to residential to qualify for TIF financing. And to change the zoning, we have to change the comprehensive plan, because as I explained, planning and zoning, the comprehensive plan is the way that we give notice to the public of where the city sees things going. So that when we do things like zoning ordinances, which affect how you can use your land, it's not considered an unconstitutional taking. You've had due process of what the city was planning to do with that property. So the first step in changing zoning is if the change is not the same as what's in the comprehensive plan, is to change the planned future use in the comprehensive plan. So that's the main change that I'm asking for in there. And while we're amending the comprehensive plan, I wanted to make a few, some are just typographical corrections, some were parcels of land that were just incorrectly identified either in the current use or the future use. I wanted to update and get our current population in there because the intern who helped write the comprehensive plan for Region 12 had this really dismal language about Stuart's population continues to decline. Well, we all knew full well that since population been growing, but we couldn't prove that until we had the 2020 census. So we want to update that language because any business or developer who is looking to do something in Stuart, one of the first things they do is they look at our comprehensive plan. So we definitely want to put our best foot forward on that.
Is this, I don't want to slow the progress down with phase 4, but is this also a time where we had talked about in that meeting that training that we had, that maybe looking at that not 2 mile radius all around, but maybe addressing that?
And that's part of my letter there, and part of what we're doing. I asked the planning and zoning to extend their planning out, and actually my wife discovered that the city council passed an ordinance back in 1995. I'm a little nervous because I haven't read the actual ordinance yet. I've only seen the notice that was filed with the county recorder. And I kind of remembered after I'd seen the certification that we had, back in 95, proposed zoning out 2 miles. And I remember there were a lot of objections at that time. And the compromise was that Stuart would only zone out 1 mile. So we've already passed an ordinance that our subdivision and zoning ordinances can be extended out 1 mile. And what I suggested to planning and zoning is that we should at least on our comprehensive plan be planning all the parcels that are to city limits. The only thing that they approved was the Tibbin property, which we need to change the zoning on that if we're gonna acquire part of the Tibbin for a street, and there may be.
That whole 37-acre piece that you're changing, or just part of it?
Well, what I'm proposing is that we change it for, well, there's no change. Right now, it's not in our comprehensive plan. My proposal would be to put it in the comprehensive plan as residential.
The whole 37 acres?
The whole 37 acres. Now, that's not going to change the use. It's not going to change how the assessor assessed it, because that question was brought up. And in fact, agricultural land is exempt from zoning. I mean, even if we decided to zone it residential, they would still be exempt as long as it's used as agricultural land. So I really don't see that as an impediment. I included the whole 37 acres because that's what the assessor's parcel is, you know. I didn't. Forrest is working on some legal descriptions for me, but I don't have them yet. So that was the reason for that. And I've had very good conversations with Glenda and Dave Tibbin. We're still trying to nail down some of these details before we can do anything concrete, but this is definitely a step in that direction. So that's definitely something I want to go back to the P&Z with, is looking at least putting those adjacent parcels into the comprehensive plan, so that if we decide we do want to zone it, we can zone it. We're not in a situation where somebody just outside of city limits does something really obnoxious because they can.
So I don't know if we should bring this up now, but I saw it was sitting on our table and it was in your letter. The stuff for Joyce is being looked at also, right?
Yeah. In fact, I asked for that to be changed in the comprehensive plan, yes.
And we have a letter here from the Pipers. Do we need to address that now? I mean, does that?
I have not seen that.
Part of it.
Are they adjacent to those two lots?
You know where I think there's a platted street in there.
Yeah.
And Charles Herrick would be on one side and the Pipers are on the other side.
And Joyce wants to get along with her neighbors and is holding back on that parcel specifically for that reason, because she doesn't want to do anything that.
So that part's being cut out for right now.
Disturbs them, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because we have a letter here, so I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page. I don't want to be approving something or doing something and then it be.
You know, if we can always change it back, I guess would be my thing, yeah.
In that matter, if they had particular questions, would they be able to come to you, reach out to you with those questions, or how should?
Certainly if it regards Joyce
Joyce
Hicks,
Hicks,
yeah.
I know.
I'm not going to represent P&Z regarding this random.
Right, just the, because I know they asked me and I really,
Yeah, no, I'd be happy to visit with them and Joyce wants to keep them, I'm happy to.
Fine.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
In the process, do you have more stuff to add to?
I really don't, unless you have questions.
We're gonna, it seems like we're just gonna amend the comprehensive plan because we just passed it last.
I know, it's only a year old, but I mean, it should be a living.
Right.
Forgive my
So,
choice of words.
if you don't mind, we can include Region 12.
I absolutely need their help because I cannot amend, I cannot, I don't have Adobe Acrobat, so I can't change the comprehensive plan myself. So, in fact, I had copied Chris Whitaker up at Region 12 with my correspondence.
Yeah.
Because I'm hoping he can actually put the changes into the plan to produce the final PDF.
Yes.
It would look like a hack job if I did.
Good, and at the same time, you're working with our city attorney on,
I've copied him on everything as well.
changing the zoning, we're gonna have to have ordinance and all these things.
Absolutely,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
wanted to be with you on that process.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to give him a heads up, and the next planning and zoning meeting is, to look at changing those zoning. We weren't gonna touch anything with Joyce Thick, as
Well,
far
I
as
just,
changing
because we had
zoning.
this letter, I wanted
That
to make
was-
sure we
yeah.
were clearing.
And that's this, Alpha Mendelson thanked us for showing up at the P and Z meeting and said, we hardly ever get anybody at P and Z meetings. Well, that shouldn't be the case, I urge them to get the P and Z meetings on the community calendar on the website, because that's the most exciting thing the city does, as far as I'm concerned, is planning for the future. So, the more people are involved, the better the decisions. Oh, there is one other thing I want to talk about, just to make you aware. Hold this up, it's terrible. The street right now, across Tibbins from Northeast Second Street down to White Pole Road, just goes straight down the hill, and I'm sure you noticed in the P and Z minutes, there's a lot of concern about that road coming out just over the crest of that hill. And I've been talking with Forrest and other members of SEED about possibly making that road curve, and I've been trying to talk to Rusty Shockley, but he's a very busy gentleman. And he tried calling me and I was busy, so. See if we can curve that road in south of the football field and have it come out right. There's an old driveway, the old field access, where there's a steel post wrapped in orange in the ground. You have good vision either direction, so. Assuming we can deal with the retention pond issue, and the city and the school agrees to let us do that. So I think we can do that without interfering with the practice field or the football field. It'll just be a stormwater issue, I think. And I think make that street a lot safer.
And then we'll extend the speed limit slower.
I think that's gonna have to be done in any event, yeah, absolutely. So, so I'd ask you to approve those changes to the comprehensive plan that the P and Z approved.
Moved by Renzo,
Second.
second by Dolly. How do you vote, Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan? Yes. Kavah? Renzo?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Warren.
I got a lot of appointments and I need to read everyone, but to extend the terms out for 5 years on Steve James, handicapped, P and Z Board of Adjustment, Harry Gabronson, 2020, Historic Preservation, 3-year term ending 2025, Matt Krantz. And new will be Christina Hutton, Library Board for 3 years, in 2025. And if anybody knows people who want to be involved, we still have an opening on a Planning and Zoning and Historic Preservation Commission. Need a motion to approve these. Moved by Morgan. Second by Kavah. How do you go? Dolly?
Yes.
Morgan?
Yes.
Kavah?
Yes.
Renzo?
Yes.
Okay. 13, public forum. Oh, you got something?
I put this on the table for you, called volunteer park and recreation coordinator guideline and structure. I have called us, I don't accept it to be a volunteer, no way, nothing, just volunteering to be our coordinator. I just called us, my account can go soon, and we kind of had that little structure to kind of have a different route about dealing with the soccer complex and all that stuff. I would think for you to read, and we're gonna give it a try and see.
Who'd you say?
All of us is all fun. I'm taking that route now, I'm gonna do it with the cemetery too. I'm meeting with Henderson and Mike Johnson. Mike has accepted to be coordinator consultant too. I'm gonna schedule a meeting with him and Matt, and we're gonna try to take the same route here and see if that new route is gonna work. I'm hoping it will work, give us kind of a different way of approaching things with a cemetery for sports complex. So wish us good luck with what we're trying to do here. On the Balkan Recreation and on the cemetery. We'll see what the outcome is. Mark will report to us every month, we'll submit to you the report. And I'm gonna set it up with the cemetery the same way. Hopefully in the next few months, we'll see development in this. If we succeeded, we succeeded. If not, we'll try a different approach.
So if somebody wants to put sand on the infields of a softball field, a baseball, goes to the bar.
Goes to Bob,
But she's been involved so many years and all.
if she can fix it, we're good. If she can, she goes to Jim and Matt. If they can fix it, they're good. If they can't, they come to me. If I can, it's good. If I can't, I will come to the council. So before we come to the council, we did our homework to the point that we need the governing body to make the final decision. We're gonna approach that on the cemetery too, and we're gonna try to do it in every item that we're having issues with, we're gonna approach it to see how it works. Hopefully we'll succeed.
Well, I'd like to thank you for stepping up and doing that, Ash.
Thanks, sir.
Yeah, I appreciate you doing that.
Thank you.
Did somebody turn in an app for the historical preservation last week?
I believe that person left outside of city limits. And that was.
Yeah, I talked to her. And you have to be in the city.
Crystal Kirkpatrick, outside of city limits.
Who?
Crystal Kirkpatrick?
No. Or did I have one?
I don't know, she just messaged me and said I turned it in last week.
Oh,
We'll find out.
for which
She
position?
said I turned in my historical preservation app last week.
We'll check it out.
Okay.
We'll do it next.
Yeah.
We had one person want to be
That's
on
good, actually.
P and Z, but they're outside city.
Yeah, that's,
Okay, we're on public forum. I got a question. Forrest, how are we standing on the bids on the sidewalk project? Safe routes.
So that bids through the DOT, and that will bid in January.
In January. Okay.
And it's out of our
It's just
control.
all up to
It's the
them.
DOT running everything. They do the bidding. They give us the results. Matt is the designated contact person for the city.
Okay.
And so it's running on autopilot right now. We can't move it any faster.
And then I talked to Jim today. The water contractors is supposed to come back and level the ground and seed at certain times, time frame on this.
The which
Oh.
contractor?
Who's putting in our water lines?
Oh, I'm
You know,
not involved in
They
any of
said
that.
next spring.
That's utility.
They said next spring. They wouldn't do anything this year.
Well, okay, I'll do some leveling myself. And just for your information, I had our city workers go to the Burger King property on the west side. There's oodles of trash and debris that they had left, and Corey and Jim loaded up with the skid loader, and Amy come took it, and they're gonna get a bill, and the lawyer says that Burger King could bring in their own barricades to block off the entrance so semis can't get in there, because that's the biggest problem. I mean, there's window broke out, the back doors were wide open, the slide door,
the lights are on,
there's
somebody's, somebody was in
feces
there
in
the
all
other
the
day.
toilets, and so,
And there's somebody sleeping in the, I got a picture of somebody sleeping in the grassy area.
in the tent, but.
Well, no, they were not in a tent, they were
It's
just
just on the ground.
just on the grass.
But it's gonna be a more secure area, and hopefully the semis can't get in there.
Do you know where we're at with the speed cameras? I think I've asked almost every month.
I'll have to ask Dave. I know our lawyer wasn't real happy with them.
Okay, can we get an answer for next meeting? Because I've been asking for like 6 months. And then, my last thing is when we go to talk about the financing and the stuff for that sports complex, can we make that a joint meeting?
Yes,
Do I need to come up to the microphone? Oh, okay, it's be official. Good evening. I'm Trisha Foster and I'm here with the WCB After Prom. And they have asked me to organize a 5K to raise money for their group. And I was thinking of trying to incorporate the downtown businesses along with this 5K and have it on Small Business Saturday, November 26th. But that close the street, that little subject you guys just talked about a minute ago.
So you've got two forms to fill. Now, is this gonna be a run or with snowshoes?
Hopefully there's no snow, but run, walk. I don't want to interfere with the drive-up window for the cup, so I was kind of thinking of maybe starting it in front of the pocket park and running east. I mean, I can finagle whichever works best with everybody, the police department and everybody. But that was my thought, but we would have to run across division once or twice just to finish it. But my thought is it would start at 8 o'clock in the morning and we would hopefully wrap it up by 10. So we're kind of out of the way for when most of the businesses open, with the remainder of the few that open at 8 and 9.
So kind of just running east on Second, out of the downtown area, and then somewhere
Yep.
out around.
Yep.
And then maybe if you came back around and ended on the west side of the alley for the cup,
Yep, we
you
can,
know, because you would just have to shut them down minimally just to start,
right,
right?
we could run out and turn around and come back, so we aren't in the way of the drive-through. Or we could start out east and go around and come back and finish. You know, it doesn't make any difference. I just wanna go through the proper approval with everyone before that. And I would be willing to let all of the businesses know that we're going to do this. I have no problem with that.
How does that affect the flower shop on Small Business Saturday?
So Trisha actually asked me like a month ago, like, what would you think? I said, if that brings more people downtown, great, especially because it's early in the morning.
I think you would probably be the only one that would be super affected, wouldn't you? That would be open that early.
I know, I'm assuming Reagan will open at 9.
But I'm not, sorry, on the east side of the
Oh,
street.
yeah, probably. But most would have run past, right? And so, I think we'll be okay.
I think really it'd be important to kind of know where your route would be,
Yeah,
you know?
and I didn't know who I needed to like specify that with. If that was with you guys, or if that was with Jim in the police department,
That would be,
or.
Yeah, I think Jim and Dave would be the main ones, and then we could still approve that in November,
I could
Right.
sure come back and
you know, if you have an
I'll have
actual
more
map.
information, I'll have a map.
Right.
And we'll have plenty of volunteers to stand at intersections if they need to, you know, stop cars for a second wire runner or a walker comes by and,
Right.
and
Is that-
awards at the pocket park and,
Bonnie and Clyde one didn't, I mean, it was, that, and they did the 1 mile that was straight down and straight back. I mean, you did that one and it's like, and it didn't affect anything on Division too much. I mean, there was just people there that,
They just had like the fire department and the police out there.
Yeah.
Holding people.
I'm sure if you could talk to the fire department, they would be willing to help.
Well, they usually have a small business Saturday too thing going on. Some they have an open house, but just depends. Always ask.
so that's why I'm here. I didn't know where I needed to go, who I needed to go to first, so.
Jim and Dave.
Yeah, get your route, talk with Jim and Dave
Okay,
on
we'll
that.
come back on in November and with more information. All right. Sounds good, thank you.
You guys are dreading seeing these, but
As soon as I get something on to make sure it was okay.
I just wanted to throw this out, something to think about. It's,
I'll get that.
back on the Longboat third edition, the fourth phase housing.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah, no
In
problem.
order to do TIF without using the county's TIF, we're gonna need to annex the land that we acquired from Tibbins. For future growth of the community, I would be in favor of annexing that whole 37 acres, but I worked with a farm couple that was involved in an annexation over by Runnels. And what Runnels did to induce people outside the city limits to become part of the city was give them a tax abatement. And so what I'm proposing to you is tax abatement that we currently have for our infill lots, 75% for 5 years. Is that, I'm just
Something.
Just
throwing this out as something to
to
think
chew on.
about, to chew on.
Yeah.
I think this might not be the only instance where we'll want to think about annexing just because of some other development opportunities that, we've already had a couple of near misses, opportunities that come and we ended up being the second choice. And I think it's something that the city council might want to have in its back pocket because it really streamlines the annexation process if it's voluntary. In fact, I wouldn't recommend doing it unless it's voluntary. It's just so expensive to do involuntary annexation. So something to think about. Like I say, what I'm proposing is something that we've got a precedent for with our infill TIF. So anyway, just throwing that out.
Thanks, Warren.
You know, I don't want to spring anything on anybody. If we had the web up.
Oh, it's up.
Oh, it is up. I'm telling the public too, so.
Okay.
Anyways, all right. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
I have one more question. Is it okay if I go ahead and advertise for the 5K, even though I need to come back in November to get it approved?
Yeah.
Okay, I kind of want to get the information out there, so, okay, thank you.
I have to run on the sidewalk.
Anybody else have anything? Council?